Zillow is predicting that the housing in the country is going to become a bit more affordable in 2026. And they're talking about 20 out of the 50 major metros in the US.
And I trust that as much as I do trust Zillow's estimates. Zillow just put a forecast and they're saying that affordability improves because rates drift down near the 6%. Income rise and home prices grow slowly.
But we're going to break that down a little bit more and talk about what they're really measuring, and then translate that into specifically Knoxville terms. Because what sounds hopeful nationally might still be brutal locally. Because you got to think, especially here in Knoxville, we have like 20 different markets just in 3 different zip codes. And if you're looking to purchase in 2026, our contact information is in the description box below.
And if you're watching on your TV, here is your QR code. All right, let's pull up what Zillow exactly says.
All right, and Zillow's definition of affordable is this. The monthly mortgage payment on a typical home shouldn't require more than 30% of median household income.
And they're bundling all of the monthly payment, including your mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, into that affordability share.
They also point out that affordability hit a breaking point in 2023. Zillow says at its peak, a typical mortgage ate about 38% of your income.
And now they're saying is nationally about 32.6%. And forecasts improved to 31.8 by late 2026.
So sure, directionally that's better, but it doesn't automatically mean good.
Because the real issue for buyers right now is not, it is slightly better than 2023. It is, can I actually afford a house right now without being house poor?
And that's the real biggest issue in the world is, sure, you might be able to afford the house. You can physically qualify and purchase the house. But what's your living condition going to be like, right? How much money are you going to have for groceries, gas? That stuff doesn't really get taken into consideration when talking about affordability of home markets. But Zillow's forecast is built on these 3 big assumptions. Mortgage rates drifting near 6% by the end of 2026.
Home values rising modestly. They have cited about 1.9% nationally.
And then number 3 is incomes rising as well. They reference income growth assumptions tied to broader forecasts.
But here is the part that is quietly doing a lot of work. Zillow's affordability math assumes a 20% down payment.
And honestly, I think that's like the most ignorant thing in the world, right? Because how many people currently in the economic standing of the United States have 20% to put down on a house?
I mean, a lot of people have a lot of equity in their homes and they can sell that one and then they do get that 20%.
Sure.
But that's the common buyer or the first time.
I was about to say, and first time home buyers too, because how many first time home buyers have $20,000 to $50,000 to put down on a house, right? Prices are continuing to go up. We're looking at $300,000 to $400,000 is most metros median home pricing. Tell me where the first time home buyer has $20,000 to $30,000 to $40,000 to put down on a home.
And if we're talking about a started home right now here in Knoxville, is not less than $300,000. So you're talking about just in down payment, $60,000, your closing costs and all of the other expenses. You're looking to have about $80,000 in the bank just to buy a first house.
Yeah, that's wild. And quite unattainable in this current standard.
And Zillow also acknowledges that it is a tall ask because a down payment is really a barrier for a lot of buyers.
So when people hear affordability, they think, well, my payment's probably about to drop, but that's really not the case.
Now let's do one thing that matters to you and to us. Let's translate this into the Knoxville market.
Zillow's typical home value here in Knoxville is about $360,650. And that's with data as of late January 2026, which is up about 0.7% year over year.
Now let's compare that with Knoxville's income. The U.S. Census Quick Fact shows Knoxville median household income as a $54,039. That is from 2020 to 2024.
And if we zoom out to the Knoxville MSA, a Knoxville Chamber Economic Overview reports median household income in Knoxville is around $69,606.
Now here is Zillow's affordability rule, 30% income. So 30% out of the $54,039 is about $16,212 a year, or about $1,351 per month. 30% of $69,606, it's about $20,882 a year, or about $1,740 a month.
Now, this means under Zillow's definition, for Knoxville to feel affordable, your all-in monthly costs need to land around $1,350 for the city to $1,740 to the metro area, depending on which income figure you use.
And this is the reason why people don't feel that small win, because taxes and insurance don't sit still, and the house price didn't rewind to 2019. So Zillow is focusing on monthly payments fair. But here's what we're hearing from people. Prices are the problem.
And Zillow's own framing says affordability isn't improving because of prices dropping. It's improving mostly from income gains and rates easing.
But if you're staring at a home that used to be $240,000 and is right now in the 360s-ish, the emotional reality is, I don't want a slightly better payment. I want the prices to stop being insane.
And here's another landmine that Zillow has. Zillow bases its prices off of including property taxes and insurance.
And those are the two numbers that tend to creep up, sometimes faster than people expect. So even if rates soften, the buyers still feel that the monthly payment doesn't free up their budget the way they hoped for.
And that's the reality of the issue that I think is going on. Not that I think, truly that I feel is going on. Because sure, we might have a little bit better interest rate, but what does that do for somebody who already bought a home at a higher interest rate? And sure, the housing market is coming down a little bit. Prices are starting to come down a little bit. Zillow's focusing solely on housing, and it's not all about housing because grocery prices are still up. And many other things are influencing a budget that's not just, great, now we have maybe $50 off my housing. But to bring it local a little bit, let's talk about Knoxville's market, because Knoxville isn't just one market. Some places are stable, but some places are a little bit hotter. Redfin shows Knoxville City median sale price in January 2026 at around $313,700, which is up 2.5% year over year, with homes taking about 72 days to sell on average.
And in the translation, this is not a crash. It is just giving the buyers a little bit of room to breathe and feel better than the frenzy years.
What do we really do with all this information? Well, we're about to talk about a game plan that works even if what Zillow says is affordable. Is it really that affordable?
So here is a practical playbook. Real talk. Because Zillow forecasts, don't buy a house, you do. Stop waiting for perfect affordability.
If you're waiting for the market to go back to 2019, that's just not going to happen. Instead, focus on, can I buy a house without being house poor? Number two, treat the down payment as a strategy, not a shame spiral.
So Zillow says 20% down, but most buyers aren't doing that, and that's normal. But you really need a lender that can show you what a 3, 5, 10% down payment can do on your monthly bill. What PMI is, how can you avoid it? How much is it? Why is there? And reserves, what are they? How much do you need? Why are they there for? And what reserves do you need to keep in your bank? Number 3, use this lower pace to negotiate.
Knoxville's average days on market is longer than last year's Redfin snapshot, and this can translate to concessions, repair credits, closing cost help, and better terms at the end of the day. All right, number 4 is decide based on your timeline.
If you're staying 3+ years, buying can still make sense for you even in this hostile affordability environment. Because rent, remember that, is always going up.
If you want, text rent versus buy below and we'll shoot you an affordability calculator and break down your best situation. Make sure to check the link in the description box below to get with us one-on-one, a Zoom meeting, text, call, or email us. We'll help you build a plan, avoid overpaying, and find the neighborhood where the numbers actually work for you.
And drop us a comment below. What do you think about Zillow's forecast? Was it helpful? Was it just useless? Let us know. We'll read you in the comments.
And remember, no fighting in the comments. Be nice to one another.
See you next time.